Hello, today we are working on sections 4 to 6 from Unit 12, emphasis from grammar and vocabulary. So we are on page 204 and we're looking at the word insatiable, right? I wanted you to check the pronunciation, and you have the noun associated with it, which is insatiable appetite or curiosity or thirst, right? Or insatiable demand. Now, what we're talking about is nominalization. That is to say, when you change the category of a word so that it is turned into a noun, right? Usually what happens is that you either change the category, remember the three words we mentioned last class, category, part of speech, word class, and also we can also talk about functional shift. So we speak about the category, right? Category. We speak about word class. We speak about so also part of speech, and we also talk about functional shift. Why? Because we change the function of a word from an adjective into a noun, right? Now, in this case, from the adjective insatiable, right? Now, let's see if this is backward formation. No, it doesn't say. It just tells us that it comes from Latin. Okay, so what is a nominalization then? That is when you turn any word into a noun, right? So from the verb laugh, here we have laughter, right? And actually, this comes from we're not going to get into all the possibilities because of course that would be very complex, but actually we're going to focus on this ability English has to change the functional shift and to change the function of a word, and to prefer a noun over a verb phrase. For example, if you want to know, suppose you're invited to a meeting, a reunion, and you don't know what people are going to wear, in Spanish you would ask, ¿qué me tengo que poner? Hay que vestirse de alguna manera. In English, what is the dress code? Right? I don't know if there's an entry for this. ¿Cuánto mide la habitación? What's the square footage? Yes, here you have the definition, right? There's going to be no definition for this, right? Square footage. ¿De qué partido sos? What's your political allegiance? Right? So actually English prefers nouns, right? And this is to me one of the qualities of the language that makes it quite shorter. Use fewer words, right? You know that in Spanish, when you translate a text into Spanish, it will increase in number of words by 30%. That's a lot, right? And possibly a lot comes from these nominalizations, right, in English. The other day I was listening to a podcast about taxes for another class, and they were talking about how people, of course, usually try to avoid paying taxes, and that one way of promoting or helping or inducing people to pay taxes was to allow them to allocate a portion of their taxes to go to a certain institution of their choice, right? This became to be called as participatory budgeting. Now, immediately I have a nominalization with an ing form that becomes a noun, and a phrase that acts as a kind of label, right? Some kind of general term, right, that helps me name the thing I am talking about. So this is something English does a lot, and if we want to actually get into the language, we should really pay attention to these changes. So strong is this favoritism for nominals that sometimes English speakers use verbs which are void of meaning, practically void of meaning, in order to use a noun instead when they could use a verb, like give a shout instead of shout, right? And you have many examples here that are really good, like have a look, have belief, take a look, make a comment, make progress. And there are many other. I wanted to draw your attention to that, right? Because actually English does this a lot. Instead of help, we have lend a hand, right? Instead of stand, rise to your feet. Instead of visit, pay a visit. Also, instead of breathe, draw a breath, right? And let's have a look at the verb draw, because actually the verb draw is very useful in English. It helps us express many ideas, right? Of course, you draw a map or a picture or something, but you also draw inferences, or you draw conclusions from something, right? Or you draw a comparison, a parallel, double L here, be careful. You draw an analogy, you draw a distinction, because in this case, the verbs are more, are less easy to use, right? And there are even more expressions we could use. Let me just have a look at something else at the bottom. You draw blood, right? When you make someone bleed, well, you draw breath, or draw a breath when it is American English. You also draw the line at something, right? When you say, okay, this is it. I won't accept any more of this. And let me see if there's I wanted to check. Well, draw yourself up to your full height, which would be just to stand up. Okay, there are many others. Now, maybe you could say, look, here we're actually using more words. And this is one of the moments in which English prefers more words, simply because they are idiomatic, right? Okay, there's another verb that's very useful also in the same way, which is the verb to cast, right? You know, you cast a vote. You cast doubt over something, right? You cast a shadow or light on something. Let's have a look at this. Well, you cast doubts over on something. You cast aspersions when you criticize someone, right? You cast a ballot or your vote. I think that's the last one I want to check. Well, these are many interesting idioms you may want to check later. And then another verb that is used in this way, but we're not going to look it up, is come, because we can use come to show this transition from one state to another. So come to an end, come to power, come to a decision, come to love, come to see. And the same happens with bring to a close, bring to tears, bring to a boil, right? Well, you can also, actually, there are many interesting expressions with bring, so maybe we can look them up, right? You can bring someone to heal. Yes. Oh, no, I have another one here. I don't have the expression bring to heal, right? Which is make someone obey. Let's see if it is here. Okay, so what I wanted to show you is that it's not, well, it seems this is not here, right? Okay. Disregard the final comment then. But what I wanted to show you is that it's not just the verbs give, have, take, and make. There are many others which are as ineffectual, right? Like the ones I mentioned, where to draw, to cast, to come to bring to, right? And many others, right? They're simply making things less concise, right? The opposite of what we were looking at, because actually what we were focusing on with nominalizations is brevity. That is to say, to make something shorter, right? Short and nice, right? Brevity, to make something concise. That's another nice word, concise, right? Okay, for the activities, be careful. There are many interesting expressions, right? And there's something, oops, that I think is very important. This pattern is very important, right? You take pride in something, but you pride on something. You pride yourself on something, right? You pride yourself on something. Then well, the others will comment on in class, right? So let's go to section 5, which is about vocabulary. And here we come across very interesting words. Comprehensive, a very nice false friend, right? Not comprensivo, claramente, this is complete, right? Full, dealing with every aspect. So a comprehensive list of addresses, a comprehensive study, or insurance, which is the one that covers all risks, right? And then we have many other adjectives that express completion, like arrant, right? Arrant. These are very educated words, to be frank, like arrant nonsense, which seems to be the most frequent collocation, right? But rank, for rank we have rank disobedience. You can also speak of a rank outsider, right? Oh, this is the noun, sorry. And the taxi rank, you know, where the cats are waiting in line. So rank stupidity or rank hypocrisy, and a rank outsider, right? Rank amateur. So it seems that rank lends itself to occur with more words, right? And there's also utter, all of them meaning complete. You have the example utter madness, but the typical one is utter nonsense, right? Utter amazement, an utter fool, right? A complete fool. Sorry, I skipped sheer. Same thing here, right? You have the example sheer stupidity, right? Which is another typical example, right? Sheer luck, sheer chance, sheer coincidence, bliss, joy, determination. You see that it is much more open to many collocations: terror, panic, exhaustion, hell. There are also, by the way, sheer cliffs or slopes, meaning very steep, right? And sheer, be careful, means transparent. It's a very interesting word, by the way. Another word that is another emphasizer is unmitigated, right? Unmitigated disaster is the one that you would find here. But let me see those unmitigated. Oh, unmitigated rubbish. So, well, complete is the same idea, right? But fewer collocations for unmitigated. Now, realize that I went too quickly. Because there's something else about comprehensive. It's another meaning in education, right? A comprehensive score, right? So let's, oh no, that's a long story, so no, let's not go here. All right. The other word that we need to worry about when conveying emphasis is quite. Very deceptive word, right? So quite can be fairly or pretty, quite good, quite interesting. I quite like the opera, quite well, quite a good player. But look at this note. When quite is used with an adjective before a noun, it comes before a or an. You can use, oh, sorry, quite small, that's another thing. Completely or absolutely, entirely. So that's quite different, quite frankly, quite clear, quite enough, quite sure, quite agree. So actually we go from fairly or pretty to completely and absolutely. How do we know? Let's see. In North American English, quite usually means something like very, not fairly, or rather pretty is used instead in this sense, right? So when you mean quite good, you mean very good, right? Now, what this note here, this was about American English, right? But what this note says here is that British English has two meanings for quite. I feel quite tired, fairly tired, but I feel quite exhausted. That means very exhausted, right? Because well, this is perceived to be more extreme, right? When the state is more extreme, I mean completely or absolutely. Now, the truth is what says here. With some adjectives, both meanings are possible. The speaker's stress and intonation will show you which is meant. So very difficult to translate. You never know. Honestly, you can't tell. I need to ask the speaker, what do you mean by quite? Okay, some of the words here are indescribably. Oops. Right, I want to check the pronunciation for you, right? Indescribably. Indescribably. And now this one. Think of where you would put the stress. Are you thinking? Incomparably. I'm pretty sure you were thinking of another syllable to stress, all right? Okay, as you can see, there are many choices here, and there's some words that I would like to check with you from the activities, right? Confirmed, because there's a lot of vocabulary here. Confirmed tends to occur with one word in particular, which is, do you know, a confirmed bachelor, exactly, right? For confirmed chocoholics, right? So very much so. Sorry. Out and out. Right? Though we do use it, this means complete, right? Typically with liars, right? And out lie or liar, right? Then inveterate. Thank you. So I stressed it before, but inveterate, also a liar, right? Inveterate traveler. So you can't stop doing this, right? Inveterate. Very nice word. And then we have an so think of where you would stress this word. This sounds for us like you would use this with drugs, right? But an adulterated pleasure, an adulterated pleasure, right? Then we speak of unadulterated foods as in pure, right? Nothing has been added, no additives, but unadulterated fun or pleasure, right? And then how about this one? I'm not sure it is in this dictionary. Yes, consummate, consummate, showing great skill. So a consummate performance with consummate skill, a consummate liar. So this is disapproving, right? So he's very good at lying. That's the idea, right? So very difficult word. It's a formal term, right? Consummate, consummate is American pronunciation also. Okay, there are many others. Let me see. This one. Right? Think of the stress where you put it and mitigate it. And we saw it. And mitigated disaster and mitigated rubbish, right? Was at the beginning, right? Okay, I wanted to show you the collocations. That you will find many more here. Well, be careful. Activities 4 and 5. So let's go to section 6 on page 208, right? And now we have many expressions like stay put, which is do not move, right? Hold out, right? Sorry, hold out for something. Hold out for hope or something like that. Hold out for here. Very nice expression. So hold out for a more generous settlement. So that is that you hope something will change, right? And the word adamant, maybe this word is new to you, to remain adamant, which means to remain determined, right? He is adamant that she would not come. Adamant that there was no more money available, right? Adamant, stress at the beginning, right? And determined not to change your mind. And that's why you stick to your principles, or you stick to your guns. Maybe you know that phrase, right? To stick to your guns, right? Okay, very nice idioms here: to sit on the fence, to stick your guns, to refuse to change your mind, right? Mind, sorry. Then we have this expression, to sit on the fence. You know, when you don't know what to do, so you're sitting on the fence. You can't sit on the fence all your life, right? You need to make up your mind. Sit on the fence, right? He tends to sit on the fence at meetings, right? So not say something. Oh, wait, it says something else. Avoid becoming involved, right? Or influencing something, right? Right. Okay. And then hedge your bets. Maybe you can already guess what this means, right? So avoid commitment, hedge your bets, reduce the risk of losing or making a mistake by supporting more than one side in a competition, right? So she hedged her bets by applying for various other objects, other jobs as well. So trying to protect yourself by doing several things, right? To make allowances, right? So make allowances for delays is a typical collocation for this one. Also, by the way, as a noun, a travel allowance or a living allowance, so it's money given to you, right? But when you make, let me just see, make allowances for something. The budget made allowance for inflation, so that is, it takes it into account, right? A plan makes no allowance for people working at different rates, right? And make allowances for somebody. You make allowances for him because he's tired. So you kind of take that into account, basically, right? Okay, another word which is very important here is the connector. Do you know how to pronounce this? Albeit. Difficult word, right? It means although, and it is very formal. He finally agreed, albeit reluctantly. So same as although, just that it is more formal. Another expression you have here is to ponder, which is to think thoroughly, right? And to sleep on something, which looks very much like our consultarlo con la almohada, right? To be in two minds when you're undecided, right? To be in two minds. Let's see. To be in two minds about something, right? Of two minds is American English, I forget. I was in two minds about the book. She's in two minds about accepting his invitation. Another word I want to see with you here is quandary, right? To be in a quandary, right? So in a difficult situation, in a dilemma, right? A quandary. Dilemma or dilemma, right? Most people go dilemma. I go dilemma, but stick to your guns is here. And then this word. Let's see if you can think how you would pronounce it. What would you say? Idyllic, idyllic, italic, italic. So this is something, remember I keep telling you that sometimes American English speakers do. They use a diphthong here where we wouldn't, right? Well, some of us wouldn't, for that matter. And I think, yes, that's about it. So be careful. In this case, you have an exam practice. Don't forget to do it. And we'll talk about the activities in class. Thank you very much. Bye.